Why does Warner Brothers hate me so much? Why does DC hate me so much? Did I do something to warrant seeing all of my favorite heroes be bastardized by Zack Snyder? Ever since 2013, since Man of Steel came out, it feels like DC has been doing everything in its power to get me to hate the DC Extended Universe, before it could even be called the DC Extended Universe. Whether it's terrible writing, terrible visuals, terrible directing, all of the above, mischaracterizations, miscastings, Martha?
Why did you say that name?
Shut when you think about it.
It seems like no matter what happens, there's always going to be something that the DCEU does that'll piss me off to some capacity. And not helping the case is the fact that we're getting an actual Snyder Cut version of Justice League for fuck knows what reason. Which isn't even the Snyder Cut that people were bitching and moaning about for the past 3 years. What we're literally getting is a compilation of all the unfinished footage from the original and replacing it with new footage with the original cast returning. Literally, this is going to be the DC equivalent of the Alien 3 Assembly Cut. In other words, it's just a remake of the original Justice League, but with Joss Whedon no longer having involvement in it. It's just going to be Zack Snyder's butchered, disgraced Watchmen version of it. And look, I'm all for director's visions, and I'm very glad that he's getting to finish the movie that he wanted to make. Whether or not I like it is inconsequential to that, especially considering that he had to leave after the death of his daughter, which, by the way, is still a horrible thing, and I'm very sad that he had to go through that. No man should have to bury their own daughter, if I can be serious for 1 second. Going back to this, why are we doing this again? It's 2021. No one wants to see this. No one wants to see a new version of Justice League with even worse versions of the characters that they got in the original Justice League. I am so sick and tired of talking about the DC Extended Universe, but I know that when the damn Snyder Cut comes out, I'm going to have to. I just don't want to be frustrated with the DC Extended Universe anymore. I just wish that I had at least one movie that I can love wholeheartedly no matter how bad the quality is. Something that I can enjoy and appreciate no matter how bad the directing is, how bad the writing is, how bad the visuals can get. Just something fun, stupid, and enjoyable. That is all I wish for. That is all I fucking wish for.
Your wish is granted.
Wait, Mando says what? I'm gonna be honest, I was a little bit hesitant on watching this movie. Not because I have anything against the DCEU, unless they're doing stupid shit like this, but mostly because I didn't want to watch this on HBO Max. Let me make it clear, HBO Max sucks. It has a lot of good content, I will admit, but aside from Ed, Edd n Eddy and a couple of good HBO shows, with one obvious exception, nothing about HBO Max ever screams, give me $15 a month to give you good content.
$15 a month?
Needless to say, I couldn't sit through this movie at home, and I didn't want to. So I sucked it up and I ended up watching it in theaters despite any good conscience telling me not to. Was the movie any good, or at least was it worth watching in theaters? Well, to be perfectly honest, oh boy, how do I say this? I think Wonder Woman 1984 might be my favorite DC movie of all time.
Okay, first, what? Second, the f***?
I know. But, believe it or not, I have a good reason for that. I'm not here to say that it's better than the original, or honestly even better than some of the other good DCEU movies like Shazam, but I cannot deny that this movie left a very good feeling in me after I watched it. Is it actually any good? Well, let's find out. I'm Sebastian from Cinemageddon Reviews, and this is Wonder Woman 1984. Taking place in the titular 1984, following over half a century later after the events of 1917, the movie follows the adventures of Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, played once again by Gal Gadot, as she proves the idiocy of the Justice League movie wrong by actually getting involved and helping people however she can. After thwarting a jewel heist and politely asking people to keep quiet about their encounter with her, the FBI uncovers that the jewelry store that was getting hit was also the front of a black market artifact smuggling ring that just happens to be in the possession of the Dreamstone, an ancient relic powerful enough to grant the wishes of anyone who comes into contact with it at a great personal cost. Said cost, however, proves completely inconsequential to one Maxwell Lord, played by Pedro Pascal, who decided to opt out from wearing a sweaty helmet after crying his eyes out at the end of The Mandalorian Season 2, much like the rest of us. Longtime DC supervillain and recurring Wonder Woman punching bag, Lord is a shrewd businessman who's seeking possession of the Dreamstone in order to use its power to grant the wishes of everyone he comes across in order to gain power and become the most powerful man in the world. No, actual power. Get out of here, Trump, you're not relevant anymore. And with that uncomfortable joke out of the way, the Dreamstone gets sent to the Smithsonian Institute where Diana works and gets placed in the possession of Barbara Minerva, played by Kristen Wiig, who gets employed as a geologist tasked with identifying the artifacts that were taken from the heist. The two hit it off at first in very shippable fashion, and together are able to identify that the Dreamstone is said to be able to grant the wishes of anyone who holds it. After some dude jokingly wishes for a coffee only to get it 5 seconds later, Diana, unaware that the stone is legit, wishes for the one thing that she's always wanted for decades now, the chance to be with the man that she loves, Steve Trevor. Because no amount of superhuman strength can protect you from heartbreak.
Why does it hurt so much?
Get that fucking shit out of here!
And of course, because this is a superhero movie with a wishing stone as a plot point, as you can imagine,
hijinks will ensue.
oh boy, they ensue alright, Sapphire. Steve Trevor comes back to life instead of another man's body, the two flying instead of the invisible jet from the comics. Minerva wishes to be as strong, sexy, and popular as Diana, which results in her basically becoming a metahuman with a shitty personality, and Lord, swear to God I'm not making this up, literally becomes the Dreamstone by wishing onto the Dreamstone to turn himself into the Dreamstone so he can grant the wishes like the Dreamstone and reaping the benefits from it, resulting in him gaining unlimited power, providing President not Ronald Reagan with access to more nuclear weapons and havoc ensuing all over the world with everyone's wishes going out of control and backfiring.
That's stupid! You're stupid! Stop being stupid!
Ooh, I am aware of the stupidity of what I just said. And the best part is, the movie plays it all 100% sincerely instead of pretending that it's all on one big stupid joke. Wonder Woman is in every way, shape, and form an 80s movie. Not an 80s nostalgia movie, not an 80s throwback movie, but just a typical 80s movie with all the silliness and goofiness played straight, while the aesthetic remains minimalistic enough that it isn't in your face about the decade it's taking place in. Sorry, Stranger Things, nothing personal. The film looks and feels like a typical Silver Age DC story taking place in the 80s while also not being afraid of having a heart and a moral to it, which to the film's credit is a genuinely touching yet also heartbreaking moral that both our hero and our villain have to learn by the end. Let me make one thing clear though, this movie is not perfect. The film received a mixed response by critics and audiences who are being surprisingly quiet over the fact that the film is getting a negative critical response. Funny how fanboys really only seem to complain when critics dislike a movie when Zack Snyder is directing them. Honestly though, I kinda see where everybody's coming from though. The tone of the film completely clashes with the entirety of the DCEU, even the kid-friendly Shazam to some extent, and it feels less like a serious DC superhero movie and more like a live-action Saturday morning cartoon with a 2.5-hour long runtime. I would complain about this more, but the damn Snyder Cut's gonna be 4 hours, yet nobody's complaining, so what the fuck does it matter? This film will not be for everyone, and I accepted that. What I can't accept is how everyone is so dead set on trying to hate this movie as much as possible. I'm not gonna get into the behind the scenes tampering from Warner Brothers since I'm not qualified to talk about that, nor am I gonna talk about the plot holes or inconsistencies because I'm not CinemaSins and I don't care. What I do care about is whether or not this movie is good enough to warrant me sitting in front of a mostly empty theater, risking my health due to COVID-19, and whether or not I or anyone else would have a great time watching it. The answer is yes, absolutely. If you know the movie you're getting into beforehand. At its core, Wonder Woman 1984 is firsthand an escapist movie. You don't go in here for serious thinking or deep character studies. or a clumsy piece of shit that thinks it's being a deep character study. You're here to have fun, laugh, and cheer when your favorite superhero kicks ass and saves lives. But more importantly than that, you're here to forget that outside of that movie theater, or outside of your house if you're streaming it instead of watching it in theaters like I did, a violent pandemic is wreaking havoc and killing people. Sure, it can be overindulgent and a lot more cliche than it has any right to be, but what's wrong with having a little mindless entertainment? Especially when it's shot and edited as good as this movie is. Not only that, but this is one of only 2 DCEU movies that you can watch without needing to understand what the hell is happening in the film canon. You don't need to watch Man of Steel, you don't need to watch Batman v Superman at all. You don't need to watch Suicide Squad, you don't need to watch Wonder Woman, though you probably should because it's one of the only other good DCEU movies that there are. This film exists as a sequel to the first Wonder Woman movie, shut the fuck up, and that is it. You don't need to do any extensive homework, you don't need to read up on any new god crap. This is a film that exists as its own movie and nothing more. No more, no less. Let me make it clear though, I'm not trying to say that this is disposable entertainment either. And what do I mean by this? Well, oh boy, I'm so sorry I have to do this, but you're gonna have to wait until the next part of this review for me to actually go into more detail. I know. Look, long story short, this proved to be a much more underlying task than I anticipated, and I don't think I'll have enough time to get the entire video up and ready. But part 2 will be coming in very soon, and you should expect to see me go into much further detail as to why I think Wonder Woman 1984 is my favorite DCEU movie of all time. Until then, I'm Sebastian from Cinemageddon Reviews signing out, and I hope that next time I can get the video completed before I put up a stupid deadline, which I myself said I would never do again. You know, I do this to myself.